Hi, my name is Peter. Welcome to Orchard. Here we're talking about EVs, and I'm here with the man, Trevor. And listen, so let's talk about, number one thing, electric vehicles. Are they here to stay?
They definitely are. They're not going anywhere. They're just getting bigger and more exciting, cooler, more technology, more performance, just more fun.
I know we're standing beside this awesome Mach-E here, which I love, by the way. I love talking this thing. This is an electric Mustang.
Yeah.
I like the Mach-E, but I love the word Mustang on it. This
Me
thing
too.
is just awesome on it.
Yeah, so cool.
Let's talk about, how about the demand? Like, a lot of people talk about it. We know the whole Teslas in the world and the Mach-E's in the world.
Yeah.
But what about demand from your perspective?
Demand's just been insane.
Yeah.
Like, especially over the last few months, price of fuel going up, some crazy stuff going on out there. There's been some new incentives, some new reasons to get people into them.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a new vehicle, why not go electric?
Yeah.
So much cheaper to run. The maintenance costs are next to nothing. Easy to charge. You start every day with a full tank of fuel because it's electricity instead of gas.
Yeah.
Right. So every day you start with a full charge or however much you want to start with.
So there's a lot of signs on it. 'Cause, like, it's not a fad. It was a fad like 5 to 10 years ago. It's like there's the one in it, but now it's really kind of getting to it. What about from an R&D perspective? Like, what do you see, for example, like, you look at, hey, is the companies, are they taking it seriously? Like, what's Ford doing, for example?
Well, it used to be like 10 years ago, all the manufacturers were doing it because they had to.
Yeah.
They had a mandate target that they had to reach. So now they're doing it because they want to, because they know it's a cool car. They know people want it. It's in high demand. They're not doing it because they have to. They're doing it because they want to.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference.
That's the
big difference. Plus, charging infrastructure back 10 years ago was almost non-existent.
Yeah.
So now people can actually drive coast to coast and charge the car along the way.
Right.
And you can get almost like an 80% charge in like 20 minutes.
So that's another thing. I think when you look at these things here, like when you're talking about this thing, love the charging thing. Yes, there's no fuel, electricity. So tell me about the charging infrastructure, like, especially here in BC, like what's that look like from your perspective, and how good is it?
Probably 90% of your charging is going to be done at home using, I'll open this again, using this port right here. This is a J1772 port. So basically when you're charging at home in your garage, that's the port you're going to be using. So plug it in, get a full charge overnight, you're ready to go for the next day. And that's going to give you all the charge you need for that day's commute. Right? So if you're on the road charging, then you can use this port here, and that's your DC fast charging port.
Got it.
So when you go into Petrocan or Electrify Canada or one of those DC fast chargers, you plug that in there, and then you're going to get a much faster charge. Slightly more expensive, but still pretty cheap compared to gas, real cheap compared to gas. And then that's going to charge it up real quick on the road. You go in, use the washroom, grab a bite to eat.
You're good to go.
It's charged up.
One of the things we're always kind of learning is like, hey, you pick the car that suits for you.
Right.
Like, what kind of questions should I be asking myself if I'm going to go to an EV?
Basically what your daily commute looks like. So are you driving 100 kilometers a day? Are you driving 500 kilometers a day? So with the Mach-E, for example, there's two battery sizes. There's a regular range battery, and then there's extended range. So obviously the extended range is a little more money. You might not need that, and you're hauling around that much more battery that you're not going to necessarily need. So the best thing to do is figure out what you're driving kind of daily and how many road trips you're expecting to do, and then kind of buy your car around that. There's no sense getting a car that's got a 500 kilometer range and you're never going to use that.
Yeah, totally.
Right? It's pointless.
Pointless. Like I drive my kids to activities back and forth. I'm doing like 20 or 30K a day. I literally, sometimes I forget to charge this thing for like 3 or 4 days, and I'm like, oh, I still got 30%. You're not even, realizing it. So it's just like, it goes back to, hey, okay, in realistic terms right now, if I'm driving up north every single day, probably not a good idea to get an EV yet, right?
You can make it work, but it's not going to be as convenient. The DC fast charging infrastructure isn't quite there. You might end up having to stay overnight to charge it. Which for most people, that's maybe not the most convenient scenario.
Perfect.
But it can be done, and basically every month, more and more chargers are coming online. So it's going to be there. It's just a matter of time.
Awesome. Now, there's one thing, this is one of the things you want to get an EV. You can't put it on video. You got to test it.
Got to try it.
We're going to pop on this thing, Jacob here in the back seat, and we're going to see if we can feel something. Okay, we can't call it a gas pedal anymore.
No.
What are we going to call it?
It's a juice pedal.
It's a juice pedal.
Juice pedal, yeah.
Yes, it's a juice pedal.
The juice pedal, yes.
The juice pedal.
Yeah, and that's the coolest thing about this car is how much fun they are to drive.
That's it.
And the batteries are basically in the floor underneath the seat. So that's real low, and that's going to give you the best center of gravity. The thing handles like it's on rails.
Beautiful.
It's insane.
Well, let's go pop it.
Right.
Let's go test it out.
Let's do it.
All right. So you're right. This is, well, first of all, it's so quiet. I love this thing. Love this thing. And then the second thing is, yes, most thing is,
That's what seals the deal right there.
that
every time.
is what seals the deal. There's this pure power of an EV. Now, before I get arrested, which I won't do that, we're on a nice safe parking lot here. That's probably the best thing for an EV that you can get.
Absolutely.